Friends, welcome once again to another very special evening of hobby streaming from us here at Tabletop Titans. Zach, I'm joined today by fan favorite Bridger. Bridger, how's it going?
Oh, I'm great. Happy to be hobbying again. It's been at least a year since I've hobbied.
Really?
Really.
Okay, I'm really excited to have you on. We've been mixing up who we have on, but mostly it's probably usually going to be Brett. Brett and I are kind of hobby kindred spirits, but I was like, I have this idea for a show that just screams Bridger. And I was like, this is it. This is a Bridger show.
Well, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Now, what we're going to be making today is little pieces of industrial scatter that we'll take a look at here in a second. But I have a question for you, Bridger.
What's that question, Zach?
Did you know that every year in the United States, over 130 million tons of industrial equipment is scrapped?
That's a lot.
Is it? I don't know. Is that a lot?
That number is large.
That number is large.
A ton is like over 1,000, and you said 100 million. So it's really like 100 billion pounds.
130 million.
That's a lot of pounds.
Yeah, I have no frame of reference.
Do you think we're replacing all that? Like, are we making 130 million tons of new equipment every year?
Well, I don't know. And, usually I do a little bit of research. Last week I researched hoodoos. For example, I found this topic to be extremely uninteresting. So I did zero research other than really coming up with that number.
That's awesome.
Anyway, today we're going to see what some of that future scrap looks like in the 41st millennium. So friends, let's get creative. Okay, guys, here they are. Take a look. We've got industrial scatter, and this is why we call this non-scatter scatter. So what you see here are little tiny pieces of bits from different kits, like vehicle kits from Imperium, just Imperial tanks, Imperial infantry even sometimes. And of course, you also see lots of crates, ammo crates, and lots of barrels. These barrels are the same barrels that come from the Munitorium cargo shipping container. And what Bridger and I are going to be doing today is basically gluing them to these bases. That's where we're going to start, making these bases. And what you end up with are these little glued, almost like little mini dioramas that you can kind of toss around your battlefield, butt them up against a ruin, butt them up against a building, or even make just like little clusters of them. And when you do that, you end up with scatter. And that's pretty much what you're looking at. Now, we're going to do a few stages here today. First, we're going to, like I said, build the bases, paint the bases, paint some of these little pieces, especially the crates and the barrels. And then, I'm most excited for, is that we're going to be doing a little bit of weathering on them using Secret Weapon Miniatures weathering powders to give it kind of this red canyon look. Now, you guys have been following the hobby stream, and you may know that we are working on another board. I'm working on another board for Tabletop Titans, and this is it. You're kind of looking at the board coming to life right here. It is a red canyon. This is the same terrain we built the hoodoos for last week, and we made the trees for the week before. Today, we're just going one more step down the road for this terrain board, and we are doing these little mini scatter pieces. Bridger, excited to do some scatter?
Yeah, I think scatter is like a really important part of a battlefield, of terrain, that often gets overlooked. I know a lot of game stores that I played in have no scatter because it just disappears.
Yeah.
And I know every event I go to has no scatter, but it really completes the board. It's really what pulls the board together and makes it a battlefield. We do have some reports before we go on, Zach.
Yeah.
Of audio desync. If you guys could let us know audio before video or video before audio, that would be very helpful. We also might have to disappear for a couple seconds and come back to fix this. So chat, let us know.
Yeah, is there a good test we can do? Like, should we do a high five and see what happens?
I think they can tell from our lips moving and us talking. That's why I waited until it was on us here. But chat will let us know, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah. Not as fun as a high five, but okay.
We can high five. You want high five?
Let's do this high
Just
five.
to fill the chat delay.
Okay, so you guys,
high five.
You guys saw and heard the high five.
Audio before video. Interesting. All right, well, we're going to be right back. You hang in there.
Right back. 1 second.
Bring out my magic keyboard.
Yeah.
And then use the magic keyboard for video. But, yeah. How you doing,
Okay.
Zach?
I'm good. Yeah. Okay. So with that said, and with that hopefully fixed, let's get into it. So we've got a couple places we're going to start. First, I have a couple of interesting hobby craft supplies here that we're going to play with. This first one is basically a sheet of plastic. It is non-glare. At least one side's non-glare. I'm checking the screen. Yeah, they're both non-glare. So this is going to be the foundation of our base for our non-scatter scatter clumps. So I'm just going to toss off the film here, take it off from both sides. You absolutely do not want to leave the film on.
You don't want to advertise USA?
Well, we're going to paint it, but, you know, then it's going to be a mess when it comes off later. So, by the way, I got this in the U.S. Oh, I should not crinkle that near my mic. I got this in the U.S. from Home Depot, but you can get it from any kind of hardware store. In Pastebin, I listed the brand name, so in case you guys, at least in the U.S. and I think Canada, can probably get it there. So that's this. This is called a, mesh canvas. And actually, I had a hard time finding this in the craft store the other day.
You know what that looks like to me, Zach?
What?
This is going to sound weird. I have a vacation coming up, and I'm going to be really bored. So I started cross-stitching, and that looks like the fabric that you cross-stitch on.
This is for, I think this is for cross-stitching, or you
Nailed
can do
it.
it. Yeah.
Nailed it.
But we're going to come back to you cross-stitching, maybe not even today. And I think chat will probably
I'm sure there's going to be a
address
lot
that.
of questions about
Yeah, I have some serious questions about cross-stitching. I'm not judging,
It's a great way to waste a lot of time.
Okay, interesting. Cross-stitching. So anyway, yeah, that is what this is. And I didn't know what it was called, so I was in the craft store kind of describing it to people. Eventually, they got it. Thank you, by the way, Michael's in Cupertino. So here we go. This is also what we're going to be using. And the reason we're using this and putting it on top of this is so we end up with, if we can get a over-the-shoulder here, Bridger.
Let's take a
we
look.
get this kind of, industrial-looking mesh sort of flooring.
I like it.
If we don't do that, we're going to get a flat surface, which is also maybe okay. The reason this is extra nice, though, especially on a board you're going to weather, is that it's going to pick up the weathering. And you can see we've got like little bits of the red powder forming, solidifying in these little holes here that it makes. So, super into this as a hobby supply.
Yeah.
Put this on top of buildings if you want your building to have like a rooftop. It just kind of makes it look, I don't know, more real, I guess. Yeah, and just more like somebody looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's metal,"
right?
As opposed to just painting this and saying, "Oh, that's something painted."
Right. It looks like grading, and it's very convincing. And I think that putting the weathering powder on and it filling in some of the grading and not filling in other parts also makes it more realistic.
Super true. So, while I show you guys how to cut this and how to work with this stuff, because it is a little funky, especially this, Bridger is going to get started on, we already have some pre-made here.
We have some grading.
Yeah, so Bridger's going to get started airbrushing them, and I'll show you how he's going to do that. And actually, I'll show him how he's going to do that.
Yeah, show me. Zach, I'm a dum-dum.
Yeah,
what do I do?
Well, so we've got 2 silvers. And for you guys at home, what you're looking for here that's it, 2 silvers. It doesn't really matter the brand. We've got Reaper here today. We're going to use a darker silver. This is shadowed steel.
Okay.
And then we're going to use honed steel, which is much lighter. Really, the color we're painting these is the dark one, the shadowed steel. After you paint that, you're going to just touch a few little areas with this. You guys remember I've been saying airbrushing is great to get going with on terrain. Terrain is great place to start airbrushing. Maybe a more normal way of saying that. I stand by that, and this is really a great place to start because literally it doesn't matter what Bridger does. He's going to cover the whole thing with this darker steel, and then he's just going to put like some coloration spots here.
Right.
What are those coloration spots? I don't know. Lighting, actual changes in coloration for some reason.
Less dirty, more dirty places?
Exactly. It doesn't really matter. The eyes look at it and they see it and they go, "Oh, looks better with that second color there." as you guys saw from some of the examples of these pieces of non-scatter scatter, they are going to be heavily weathered, heavily tinted, so there's not a lot here that can go wrong. The airbrush is on, have fun.
Oh, okay. So I have my dark.
You're doing your dark first.
All right.
Just get it all over there.
And the back? No,
not the back.
The back is plastic.
Not the bottom. Yep, the back is plastic. So just so you guys are aware, I did glue these together, and I'll show you this. I did glue these together and then primed them that way. Bridger, if we can go over the shoulder, I think that's going to be an okay view to show how to cut this. Maybe actually top down on me.
All right.
Okay, yeah, this is better. So I've got my plastic cutting pad here, or just cutting pad for anything. This tool right here, kind of a weird one. I found this tool in the home improvement section right next to this thing, my plastic sheet, and it was called a plastic cutter. And it does exactly what it says it's supposed to do. It cuts plastic fairly well. I will say that I did not find it to be an amazing, like one of those tools that just simply works, like a pink foam wire cutter. What I'm gonna do, taking my T-square here, okay, I'm lining up my plastic. Hopefully you guys can kind of see it. It is invisible after all. And I'm going to start by cutting some of this. And I'll show you why you want a T-square if you can. Butt it up against here. Really what we're going to be doing, we're making these strips here, and we're picking a size. So I'm saying I want some that are about this size right here now, which is about 1.5 inches. I take my cutter, and you are going to cut towards your body. That sounds like a really bad idea, but maybe you guys can't super see this view. Actually, maybe front for this. Yeah.
Take a look.
So I'm cutting towards my body. Normally don't do that with most things. But I'm going to kind of cut like this so that I'm not like in danger of like slicing my stomach or my thigh or anything like that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I found this to be the best way to cut this. So you're still kind of safe. You're still not getting yourself accidentally sliced open. But here we go. So Bridger, one more time, top down on me here.
You got it there.
And we'll see how this goes. How's airbrushing going, by the way?
You know, it's getting everywhere, but
that's an airbrush.
that's the experience.
And yeah.
Thicker, thinner?
Let me see. Let's watch.
Well,
Let's watch you put it on.
Oh, you want to watch me? All right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not familiar with this color. Super like familiar with this color.
It looks lighter than I thought it would be.
It looks darker than I thought it would be.
Well,
Interesting. Let me see.
we're at a disagreement here. So that's what I'm getting here. What do you think?
Like layer it on a little bit more.
More? All right. I'll be generous with it.
Yeah, be generous with it. There you go.
Better?
Yep, that's
All right.
it.
I'll go back and be more generous.
Yeah, actually, they look okay, but yeah, that's it. Thank you. Here we go, guys. Cutting plastic. Here we go. So this tool has this like little hook thing, and you just drag it across. And all we're doing, by the way, with this thing is like kind of perforating the plastic. And do it a few times. Get really in there, dig really in there. And you can see some of it's kind of starting to come up, and we've got a line now. Okay, now at this point, I probably could just break this, but before I do that, because I was doing this weekend, if you do it real long like this, you might not break it. It might kind of curl up or curve up or something. So I'm actually going to also now vertically, I guess we would say, vertically cut again here in half. Again, away from my body. Well, you know, actually, again, towards my body, but away from like slicing myself open, off to the side, so to speak. Making a few more drags on this thing. It's a great tool, by the way, to this stuff.
It reminds me of glass cutting. I feel like you're breaking into a bank.
Yeah.
Are you doing that?
I'm not doing that now. Okay, so then we just usually.
Oh,
There we go. And you can see it's a little loud. That was probably super loud to you guys.
that was satisfying.
Yeah, it's satisfying, and it'll break right on the perforation. This guy's very super easy to break. There we go. These are still a little too big, so I would probably cut them smaller. These ones right here we're actually not going to be working with, so I'll just move on to the next step and show you what that would be. Well, you know what? Let's cut one a little smaller because it's a little funky to cut the smaller one. So let's just show you in action. Again, same process, but you get a little less room to work. The good news is the snap is way easier. There you go. Okay, so we've got 2 right here. This one, you can see you end up with like a ton just from one sheet. And then what I do, look at that, done, nice, is line it up, once again, with the canvas mesh canvas, Bridger's embroidery stuff. And what I do is I actually use just a nice pair of normal scissors.
I'm not allowed to use those.
And you just line it up and you cut.
Now, Zach, I have like a lot of, well, not all, I have like a non-zero amount of extra paint in here, and I don't think the tops of these come off.
The tops do come off.
They do?
Yeah, it's not fun.
Well, what do you suggest I do?
Take the top off.
Okay. Well, let's get a front cam here.
Yeah.
Show me how this is done.
And we talked about this a little bit last week. We were saying that the different companies make.
That's the wrong. This is shadowed steel.
Oh, okay. This is one you're
That's
about
the
to
honed
use.
steel.
Whew,
Yeah.
that would have been a mess.
That would have been funny.
Okay, I just instinctively shook this, which is actually sort of the opposite of what I want to do right now. And they come off. Like,
Oh, okay. So you just grab it with a towel and pull it out.
Yep.
And I'll just pour this paint back in.
Yep.
And I'll let you get back to what you were doing.
Yeah. So thank you. And so here we go. The piece has been cut, nice and easy. By the way, both of these sheets of plastic, super inexpensive. I think these are like $1, and I think the other one is like $2. Very, very inexpensive process here. So here you go. You've got the little guy, mesh guy. You've got the little clear guy, and any glue is going to work. But here is what I will say that I learned over the weekend. You can try a few different glues. I actually did try plastic glue. I tried plastic glue. I tried super glue, like model glue, which I found to be ultimately what I'm going to use. And I even tried Elmer's. You want something, it doesn't actually matter if it dries clear. What I found the best hold was to put the super glue on in a few spots, usually like a little S here in the middle. Take this guy and slide it kind of all around, almost make like a mess of it. And that's it. After that, all you're gonna do is set this thing down for a little while, let it dry. And I will just say, you want to try to cut the plastic mesh so that's really not hanging over the plastic sheet very much, because the bond on these is never going to be fantastic because it's mesh. So in other words, there's lots of places that aren't being glued right now because there's nothing to glue. So I have found that if a couple of them I would have the plastic hanging over a little bit more, and if I kind of scrape my finger up against it like that, it'd start to peel it back. So not what we want from terrain. We want terrain to be able to stay together well, because terrain gets beat up, right? Let's not kid ourselves. That's it. Super fast, super easy to make. You let that dry, you prime it, and then we jump ahead in time to where Bridger is, and you can see.
Oh, let's take a look.
Yeah.
I'm just adding a little bit of color. Wow, the color actually shows up much better on camera than it does to my eyes. I can barely tell where I painted the new paint. In fact, I can't even tell if I put the new color on this one.
You did.
I did?
Yep.
I have bad eyes, turns out.
Maybe
This one I definitely didn't do.
that one looks like you did not. Yeah, maybe you don't distinguish colors super awesomely or something. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, so here we are.
But it's okay, Bridger. You're good at other things.
Oh, thanks, Zach. But yeah, so that's some silver gantry-way. What do you think?
That's it. That's done.
Did all right?
Yeah, it's pretty quick, pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that done, we're done cutting. I'm actually going to take this, the cutting mat, set it aside. Where we're going to go next, Bridger, I hate to ask you.
Clean the airbrush?
One more clean, please.
I
for
will
us.
have to do that. Yeah.
Because where we're going to go next is we are going to paint crates, and we're going to paint barrels. And there's no huge surprise or mystery here to anything we're about to do when we paint these. It's back here.
Now, Zach,
Yeah,
you've said the words crate and barrel to me
I know.
several times this past week.
I know.
And I legitimately don't know. Is Crate and Barrel a store? Because I keep thinking it is.
It is a store.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a store at least in North America. It is a store, and it's expensive.
It is?
I find that it's a little weird because it's like a white plate, and it's like $80 for a white plate. It's just like a
Wow.
white plate. Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah,
for
I don't
a
know.
plate.
So it's plates break is the thing,
Yep.
you know?
You know, this is going to blow your mind, Zach.
Okay, here we go.
I own plates, and I haven't used them since I moved.
When did you move?
Almost a year ago.
Wow. We're learning lots about Bridger. I mean, that's not. We can all kind of think about why that's happening. The cross stitching thing,
Take
though.
guesses in chat.
Yeah, the cross stitching thing is a little more compelling to me. So here we go. Bridger is doing her cleaning there, which is super awesome of him. And when he's done, what we're going to be working on is just painting these barrels with an airbrush. Nothing special, guys. I am going to show you sort of the way I paint terrain, which is really, as you guys have been noticing, like I don't kind of overthink it, overdo it. We will be using 2 colors for this. I wanted like this kind of aqua teal colored barrel. So we're going to be using a teal,
Aqua teal?
an aqua teal color. I'm going to be using Citadel Air Temple Guard Blue, meaning that is the kind of final color of this barrel. The undercolor that I used back home when I was making these over the weekend was Cantor Blue, also from Citadel. But I came here today and I pulled up the Cantor Blue and I was like, that's not that. I pulled up the Cantor Blue and I was like, yeah, maybe I don't have enough of this. I think I do, but we have all this paint. You guys can see behind
Thanks,
us.
Reaper, by the way.
Yeah, we have all this Reaper paint, and I mean, for the most part, every color that Citadel makes, Reaper also makes, most of the time. So I found the equivalent, which is called Ultramarine, how do you like that? Ultramarine Shadow.
I thought Ultramarine was copyrighted. Guess I was wrong.
I don't think so. It is an actual color, and boy, how on the nose is that though, right?
A little too on the nose.
Because this is the color you would use, like the first color I would use if I was painting ultramarines, like my base coat.
Yeah.
So very, very, very shadowy. Thank you.
I think I did an okay job.
Yeah.
I'm negligent with most things in my life, to be honest. But
Well, it's immediately silver when I squirt.
well, I
into my
didn't
hand,
squirt much at all. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
so that's okay though.
There's still cleaner in that syringe.
Cleaner?
Yeah,
Cleaner or water?
cleaner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's also fine. You know, I didn't say to use water. Cleaner's obviously, of course, okay. And look, guys, you know, Bridger jokes about not hobbying a lot, and it's
It
fine.
shows.
That totally makes sense to do what you did there. There's nothing wrong with what you did there. I didn't specify. That's on me. I was just a little surprised. But man, you would that'd be expensive if you used a cleaner every time. You would go through a lot of the cleaner.
I used a lot of isopropyl alcohol.
Oh, I need an empty cup, not a.
Here, you want an empty paint cup?
Yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
spray in?
Sure, actually.
How are those fumes?
We have a fan going. Hopefully, you guys can't hear the fan. In our test, we didn't hear it.
Yeah, let us know if you hear a fan, or if you are a fan. Separately, let us know.
Okay, so yeah, I normally do just a little more water, Bridger, because I don't know. Typically, I only do cleaner kind of at the end of the day. Okay, so blast this out here. Now we're good to go. So very simple process here. Again, all I'm going to do, we've got a few barrels here. I'm going to do the barrels. Bridger is going to do
It's dangerous.
the crate. And I'm actually thinking about this because the crate has an extra step.
Ooh.
So let's do...
Am I up to the challenge?
Let's do the crates first.
Okay.
And then that way, how does this work? I should have thought about this. We'll do the crates first. That way,
Yeah, let's get some crates in here.
while I'm doing the second part of the crate, Bridger can do the barrels. I'll pass the
Very
airbrush
cool.
back to you. So we'll do the crates first. These are the ammo crates from the Munitorium. I forget what it is exactly what it's called. Munitorium Munitorium containers kit from GW.
Sure.
It comes with 3 shipping containers. It comes with a bunch of these crates, I think 12, and it comes with 9 barrels. And it's actually a pretty good deal. I think it's one of their better priced kits for terrain, one of their kind of universally handy kits. So, change of color. We are still doing the blue and the teal for the barrels. I'm going to pass this to Bridger.
I got it.
I'm going to be using instead this dark kind of drab green. It's called Muddy Olive. It's, again, Reaper. And I'm going to put that in here. This is going to be my base coat for the crates. I've actually painted crates and left them almost just this color. My leg's
right here.
Oh yeah, thank you. Needs a little more shake. One thing I have found, guys, if you ever are having paint not come out of this style of bottle.
That's happened to me before.
Happens all the time, actually, yeah, and it's kind of annoying. I'll show you one thing that can sometimes help, but frequently doesn't. It probably
You just
no,
squeeze it really. Oh.
No, don't, because if you do that, you know what happens. This guy blasts off the top, right? It kind of depends on like the angle,
Oh, okay.
because you don't want the ball to fall down and block. I don't actually like the rated that this is coming out, but we'll see. Okay. So again, nothing too special here. I've got a bunch of crates. I'm going to blast them with airbrush paint. I am not really that worried about anything right now because this is just the base coat. So again, as I've said before, this is not the color that will be ending up, but some shadows, some darker areas, especially the sides because I'm a little sloppy, will end up this color. But you can see nothing special here. Just kind of blasting these.
That's very army green.
It is. It's a very army green. It's going to be a great undercoat for our. Going to be a great undercoat for our grass green color. Missed that one. Okay. Now, if normally what I like to do when I do stuff like this is actually have like another little piece of paper, like a piece of newspaper, and I would just flip and rotate that newspaper right now and get these sides. But I did not do that here. That's okay.
Well, I have an extra piece of paper here.
Yours is a little big.
It is a little big.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, rotating. Really, you want like a little magazine size kind of thing. All right, so we just knock these out, hit the sides of these. That's it. Again, not super worried. Am I getting everything? I don't know. If it stays a little black, that's going to be okay. Because again, not my final layer. Actually, I like that color a lot.
Yeah, it's a nice color.
It's a little more vivid than the GW one, which is we used last week, Deathcore Krieg, Deathcore Drab. It's a little more vivid, kind of interesting, kind of fun to try the different paints out.
We do have a few paints for you to try, Zach.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have Q-tips.
We do have
Q-tips. Man,
yeah.
I was using my finger because I couldn't find a Q-tip. There's
okay.
so much on this table. I keep looking and finding new things.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's very exciting.
So this is it. So we're just doing this pretty nice and simple, nice and easy here. When I'm done, so again, since I'm just going to the next color, guys, the next color up, which is going to be like this, not moot green, grass green. This is Minotaur brand paint.
Oh.
Switching it up here. You can, I don't know if you guys knew this, but you can combine different brands of paint.
No,
yeah,
you can't?
Turns out.
There's particles in there that are copyrighted, and if they touch other different copyrighted particles, they cancel each other out. You just get water.
Yeah. So we'll see. So anyway, I do not worry too much when I'm going from like a dark green up to like a light green. I do not worry too much about cleaning the airbrush out because I don't know. You know, it's gonna it's done. Right?
That's very green.
Yeah, it's pretty green.
That's not far off the color green I painted my highlighter green towel.
Okay, well, you're going to see, as you can see, we have some already finished, and you can see with some of the stuff we do to them, it'll tone it back down. So, okay, can we get over the shoulder? Can we take a look here? Okay, so here they are. Are they dry enough? Again, not super worried. And all I'm doing, hitting these guys. Again, here now, I kind of like the idea that maybe some of the sides won't get that hit with the bright green. Now I am going to check my work when I'm done. I'm not just going to like leave it to chance. I'm going to kind of see how things look. But that's it. I'm going to start here like this. And taking a look, I can see like that looks, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that looks very silly. It looks like it's like one color on top and another color on the side.
Yeah.
We don't want that. So we do want like a little more of a gradient like that. You see that one?
Yeah, it's a nice little spillover.
That's what we want. Spillover, perfect word. So turning them here in the corner, and I'm going to focus now hitting the sides a little bit, but like I'm going to be not too aggressive about it. folks at home, people always saying one of the scariest things about getting going on airbrush is there's like this expectation that you'll be Zenithal highlighting, which I think is a fair expectation. This is Zenithal highlighting, not even 101. This is like preschool Zenithal highlighting for a number of reasons. First, it's easy. It's just flat. Second, I'm going to be applying so many additional steps to this. We're going to tint it and we're going to weather it that if I miss an area or if it just doesn't come out super great, it's not going to matter. I can
You're gonna fix it.
I can fix it. And it's even better than that too, because as you guys noticed, we're gluing a lot of little pieces together here. If one side is just super ugly or like still like chaos black, I'll just glue that to the side of another thing.
Right.
So again, please get an airbrush. If you don't, get airbrushing and get making terrain with your airbrush. And man, these crates are just like the perfect place to start, I think.
We don't make mistakes here, Zach. We make terrain.
That's a great saying. We won't always be making terrain. In fact, next week will be our first non-terrain episode, which we're a little excited about. I'm a little excited about.
I'm a little nervous.
About us not making terrain?
Well, about making things where there could be mistakes. Because I make mistakes when I make things. All the time.
Yeah.
And so when the stakes are higher, when it's not terrain, when it's models, and it's if they're in the limelight, it's the thing you're looking at, get a little stage fright when I'm painting them.
Yeah, so next week we'll talk about erasers. I'll be painting one of my Simhan vehicles, which Bridger will actually be playing on the mainstream tomorrow. Ooh. So you guys can get a look at them if you watch tomorrow's game. Yeah. And I've done the process not a million times, but a lot, because I've painted a lot of stuff for it. And yeah, you kind of learn where mistakes can happen, and you learn the mistakes. But you know, the big thing is you're not going to learn any of it unless you like do it. You know, and so that's just, I don't know. I feel like you're saying, terrain, place to start. Like I'm saying, like we're both saying, start in terrain, know like where things go wrong, and then yeah. Okay, this guy's clean and ready for you.
Oh.
Oop. It's water, not a big deal. Not what I meant to do, but I was like, did I just spray everything one color? I've done that before. I thought like it was clear and I just spray it. I thought it was like water. It's like black paint just shooting across. And again, never actually hit a model that way though. Like never hit like a almost finished model that way.
Oh, I would. That would definitely happen to me.
Okay, this is ready for you.
Let's do it.
So we're gonna let Bridger get going here.
And I'm doing
Barrels.
dark blue, then light blue.
Yep.
So this is Ultramarine Shadow into Temple Guard blue.
Yeah, and same way I did it. Like you want to, first of all, with the barrels, let's make sure they're all facing the right way.
Okay. What is the right way?
There's a skull on them because it's from Citadel.
Or an Aquila. And an Aquila. Both.
And an Aquila, both, yep. Make sure
so
those
we want
are
a uniform top.
Want a uniform top because we're not even going to paint the bottom.
Oh, okay.
It's going to stay black.
Secrets from Zach.
Yeah. Don't paint what no one's going to see. Some people don't like that, and other people, are okay with it. So, anyway.
Now, I feel like as soon as I start spraying here, they're going to knock over.
So they may.
Do I have to hold them with my finger like this?
No, because then you'll cover the top, and we'll have a weird top.
All right, so I'll just spray from far away.
Yeah, so I have to admit, another piece of equipment I forgot. Typically what I would do here with these...
Is it blue tack?
No, kind of, yeah. I put them on a cork. I have a ton of corks. You'll see them next week. I use for airbrushing, and they have wires in them. And I would just put them on there and hold it. It's basically like a couple weeks back, somebody asked about grips. It's kind of a grip.
Oh, right, yeah, paint grips, yeah.
So,
well, I'm just going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, you might have to use your fingers and just hold it.
Well, if I'm just far enough, ooh, they're wavering, but I'm getting paint on there. Oh, one fell down.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to get paint on your fingers.
Oh, we have sticks.
Oh.
They're so far, though.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
Those are going to work. I would just hold it, Bridger.
All right. We're going to try this technique of rotating the barrel.
Yeah, that should work. And you can get a little closer with the airbrush, too.
Oh, okay. Wow, the airbrush is so powerful. It's so forceful. The barrel's just
turn blue.
trying to get away from me. All right, we have two that I think... What do you think about those two? This one's more blue than that one. How blue am I making them?
Way more bluer than
More
this.
blue?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Get in there. Like, okay, like, so you're getting paint in your fingers, right?
Oh, I don't mind that.
Okay, so then hold it like this.
Uh-huh. Oh, from the bottom. Got it.
And just go all over it, yeah.
All right.
You guys can see I always have paint all over my fingers. This past week, my wife was like, "Oh, you've got to clean your fingernails and fingers better because it looks weird on the stream." And I know, and you know, when I was teaching and I would do a lot of hobbying, I'd be like working with kids and pointing to the screen and stuff, and my hands were like half black and blue and like.
And everyone wondered.
A few times, some kids would like look at it weird. I'd be like, "It's just paint, guys." Sometimes they look pretty gross though.
That's when you say, "I'm an artiste."
Yeah, yeah. I can just say that. Hey guys, I'm an artiste. Kids love stuff like that. Okay, so Bridger.
Yep.
Can we? Oh, cool. We're forward. Awesome. So I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite hobby tools that I've found out kind of recently. This is a Baoke brand metallic craftwork pen. Now, from what I know, these only come in two colors. I've done a little bit of research as far as the metallic versions of the craftwork pen. They come in a silver and they come in a gold. And I have both here. And I use these all the time. I use these honestly for like something like 1,000 Suns, kind of using on the metal or anything like that. They're really, really useful. You don't have to use, you don't have to, go through the process of using a brush on that stuff. But here's what I will say: only two colors, so kind of take your pick here. What they're very special for, though, very useful for, is terrain. So, Bridger,
Yep.
oh, you're almost done there. Nice.
Yeah, I'm blasting
Okay.
out these barrels.
So, if we can get over the shoulder here on me, I'd like to show what I'm going to do with this giant Aquila on the crate, on the little ammo crate here. I'm just going to use the marker, and real quickly, I'm just going to kind of leave edges, leave recesses dark. And you can see, that's it. Boom, 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 just like that. Nice and easy, not hard at all. We'll do one in gold, why not?
Ooh.
Keep in mind, we are, changing things up. We are going to be using lots of different techniques to layer on top of this crate. So I actually would be surprised if we can even tell the difference between the gold and the silver by the time we're done. Maybe slightly. And also, to that end, if it's a little messy in some spots, not a big deal. Because, like I said, we're going to be, there's the gold, there's the silver. We are going to be weathering these and tinting them as well, which tinting is actually the next thing Bridger and I are going to do here.
Well, I think I've finished up these barrels. I'm just putting my paint back.
Yeah, so now you're ready for the turquoise. Awesome. Brett's off stage and he's asking where to get the paint pens. So the paint pens, actually, I just got from Amazon, to be honest with you. I tried them kind of on a whim, and I forget what project I was doing where I was like, ooh, these might be useful. But I tried them, and they were great. They actually stay on fairly well. The big problem, like a lot of people talk about using a Sharpie, and Sharpies are fine. You need,
Thank you, sir.
Sharpies are fine, but the problem with Sharpie is that kind of weirdly, it comes off extremely easy on your fingers, like while you're kind of manipulating things. So I have found that these stay on a little bit better, and I don't know, they're a little bit easier. They lasted a little bit longer than a Sharpie. Sharpies also don't last that long when you're using them like this. And so this is it. So nice and easy here. Not a hard process, and this is really what making terrain especially, but painting is all about. It's about figuring out techniques that stretch you closer and closer to being 100% finished with kind of minimal effort on your end. And the hardest thing, I think, when you're painting, for me, for a lot of people, is layer painting. And that means really just taking a brush and painting something like a face. Something you're not going to hit with an airbrush necessarily. And so I do whatever I can to minimize how much layer painting I'm doing. I like layer painting. I try to do my best. I've definitely improved over the years. And I wouldn't say it's something I'm like, oh, I'm really not good at layer painting, but I get fatigued when I layer paint.
Yeah.
And it's fatigue that's like a combination of really like just mental, your brain is just like really struggling, right? You've been doing this forever. You zone out, right? So I do whatever I can to avoid getting into that area for too long. It's, I don't know, yeah, it's something I always try to find shortcuts. The airbrush is probably the best one. The airbrush is a huge time saver.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that fatigue zone, which again, like for me, I'm saying is layer painting, once you're in that fatigue zone, you are so much more fresh, ready to go, and you're not spending that much time there. Okay, you ready to do some turquoise?
Oh yeah, so I loaded it up in the airbrush. What am I doing now? Where do I put it?
Okay, so it's going on the barrels. Let's take a look. Going on the barrels.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do kind of what I did. You're gonna Zenithal, right? Zenithal,
From the top.
Preschool 101 Zenithal.
Did you explain what zenithal is?
Well, basically people use it to mean that they're kind of above, and they're putting paint such that it hits areas typically of a model that you will be viewing from the top.
Right.
And so it kind of looks like there's like light up here and it's coming down, and this area is lighter than the sides and the bottoms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so with the barrels, whenever you do any kind of zenithal highlighting, if you want to hold that up here, Bridger, whenever you do any kind of zenithal highlighting, well, I'm trying to think if I have a nice little pointer. I'll just use a brush. You want to think about what is going to get zenithaled, right? And so for these, I expect there to be like the little streaks of the dark blue underneath the rims.
Under the rims, got
Under
it.
the rims. But not much. Kind of tiny.
And really, I just want to hit, so just from the top. All right, you'll tell me. I'll give this a shot.
Yeah.
Get some paint, all right.
That's it.
More or less? Is that we're done?
So for, all around.
Got to be very specific with me.
So you're starting to turn it. You see how you're kind of starting?
Don't turn it.
You're starting to turn it parallel to the ground, like the way you're
Right.
rotating it, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's making you not get those shadows quite as much. Yep, kind of like that.
So I'll put this aside. Or more? Less?
Let's see. Well, it should. When we do layer it parallel to the ground, the barrel is turquoise.
Oh, okay.
So
the whole
think-
barrel should be turquoise.
So think of it like that. The barrel is turquoise.
Got it.
That means that we want a turquoise barrel. We just want to see if we can find some areas of overhang, I would kind of think of it as, that are going to remain a little shaded.
Oh, this is very cool.
I always try to think, like, you guys have heard me say this before in the stream a couple times. I've said, what color is the thing, right? What color is what we're doing? And so for the barrels, they're turquoise. That means they should look turquoise, but there can be areas where they're a little darker.
And that's a better barrel right there. I would
Yeah,
hold it
yeah.
up, but
No,
I would
that
put
looks-
fingerprints on it immediately.
That looks great. Now, if you can, when you get a chance, Bridger, flip back to me.
Yeah, you got it.
Here, I'll show people. You could, while you're doing this, kind of your call. You could trace the whole, all the little metal brackets. I could go up here like this, with this pen, right? I could do one that has all the outline here. Again, always be considering what, how much work you want to do. And the big thing I tell people with terrain and with an army, something like orcs or termagants or something like that, Tyranids, you want to ask yourself, if I'm doing this once, do I have to do it 8 more times or do I have to do it 90 more times,
Oof.
right? So with the crates, that's not too bad. You can see how many I have, but I've already done a bunch. And I'll say something else. I'm not really ever going to do this because I think I can just pick that up with dry brushing, which we're going to do.
Right.
So I would not recommend getting excited and doing the outlines or anything like that personally on a model like this, because since it's terrain as we've talked about before, we're going to have our final steps are going to be what we call sloppy steps, meaning that they will be dry brushing, and we're going to do so much tinting. We're going to make a mess on these things. So ultimately, we're fine with not having everything super fancy, super edge highlighted, nice and clean. Not necessary. Okay, I'm done. You're just about done.
I'm almost done.
Fantastic. So, where are we moving on to next? Kind of exciting, kind of an interesting area. We've got one final step to do that's going to apply exactly the same to everything. Well, final step, final step with the airbrush. We have one final airbrush. Yeah, yes, please. There you go. Thank you. That's Citadel. That's expensive.
That is expensive paint.
You're putting like $1 worth of paint back into the thing.
Do my best.
So yeah, I would say that our final stage is maybe the most exciting, maybe the most fun, and kind of the most sloppy and messy. We are going to be tinting. You guys have heard me talk a lot about tinting. And we've tinted pretty much, oh man, what a mess. Speaking of messes. We've tinted pretty much every episode so far, and today is no different. Now, we won't tint next week, but whenever we work on terrain, we almost always tint. So as you guys know, we're working on terrain for the ongoing Canyon board, Fortress Canyon board. We're going to take a peek at the Fortress part of the Fortress Canyon board at the end of the stream today. But how are we weathering stuff in our Fortress Canyon board? Well, we've been doing it a number of different ways, but the weathering really that we're doing is a tinted dark kind of a green. And it's Anthonian Camo Shade, it's called, from Citadel. Kind of like a drab green to represent some kind of flora, some kind of pollen, just stuff like that, just greenery in general. And we are doing weathering for the first time today. We're actually be doing weathering to show that windswept kind of clay on things. Okay, cleaning out the airbrush, and we actually do really want to get the paint out of these because we want to get the paint out of these because when we use the wash, it's gonna just, if we don't get it out,
it'll soak in that paint.
The wash is gonna like run over a layer of the paint constantly, and we'll have like a slightly teal appearance to things, which we don't want.
Could be desirable, but not today.
Could be desirable, but not something you would ever have control over. So you know, I'm not into that. Giving the airbrush a pretty good clean here. As a result, whenever you like rub, by the way, guys, with your airbrush, like a spray bridger, whenever you rub anything like a towel, make sure the needle is in. It's a great way to bend your needle. Okay, pretty good enough for now.
Bent a few needles in my day.
Yeah, I'm again not gonna push that one.
I've broken basically every piece of an airbrush.
Really?
Through sheer negligence.
Yeah, it's very possible. So got to keep it clean. Gotta
be diligent.
Gotta be diligent. Okay, tinting time. So again, Anthonian Camo Shade. We've done this a little bit over the past couple weeks. We're gonna do it again this week. This week, exciting though because we're gonna just spray it down so we can go over the shoulder here.
Should I be doing pens on the...
Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot. There's the skull and the Aquila. Yeah, do some pen on there. Why not?
Pop me one of those pens. Thank you, sir.
You can do a little gold too if you want.
Oh, I love gold.
Your call. Okay, so while Bridger pens up our skulls and our Aquilas on the barrels, I totally forgot about those, by the way, Bridger. Thank you. Cool. And they do show up. I'm looking at some finished products here, and they do show up, so it's a good thing you brought that up. Okay, all we're doing really here is kind of tinting, and by kind of tinting, I mean totally spraying these things down like hardcore, like very much getting everything in there. We are not too concerned about pulling. In fact, we like it. You can see it actually does some cool things. Check out this Aquila pre-pull, this guy right here, and then when I get the pulling in on there, look at that, it kind of really, I don't know, it looks natural, it looks weird, it looks like there's some age and there's some story behind this ammo crate now. And then of course my favorite thing about tinting is that it really just helps bring everything together, like the whole board is brought together by tinting it the same way. And it looks like a place where, nature has control over some aspects of things, right? How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay. Can we get a look at you? Can we get a little
Yeah,
peek
we
here?
can,
What you're up to?
Here, so we have, look at that silver. Look at that. Not sure how well. It's going to be tiny, but I'll tell you what. A little bit of silver in there. So what are you working on, Zach?
So actually, it's pretty fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very tinted.
They
What do
look
you think?
awesome.
Yeah, tinting train, super easy. Oh God, this teal paint is everywhere. Super easy. Super recommend it. Always tint your terrain, guys. Well, you know, it's a stylistic thing. We talked a little bit last week. Brett and I were chatting about how my preference is really that the terrain be sort of tinted a little bit darker than the models around them. Mm-hmm. And tinting like this helps do that.
Hey, Zach, how much was this gold pen? Because I feel like I could use a gold pen as a Custodes player.
Probably. Actually, what you could probably especially use if they're painted gold and you want to put a little silver on them or stuff. But either one, right?
Yeah.
Not much. I can't remember. They come in packs of 8, I think, or packs of 6.
That's a lot of pens.
Yeah. And they go kind of fast. Like if you're doing terrain or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go a little fast, but they're not that expensive. Like under $10. Maybe not. Maybe like 12. Something like that. $2 a pen. Something like that.
That's not bad.
Okay, so we are tinting. While Bridger and I wrap up our barrels and our crates, shot a couple other videos here for you guys today. One of the ones I want to show you guys is some other non-scatter scatter I've done in the past. And what you're going to see here, Bridger, if you could roll it, yeah. What you're going to see here is some little ones I've done a while back. Now, instead of using the plastic kind of ones that we made today with the canvas mesh, I used actual tiles from GW Games Workshop Ruins. So just extra pieces of flora that you have. One of them I think is like the top of a rhino or something too. Maybe you can identify that, Bridger. I don't know
That looks like a rhino hatch, yeah.
Yeah, rhino hatch as well, like extra rhino hatches.
It's the part that turns a rhino into the other thing.
You guys see there's numbers on these. You guys see there's numbers on those. That's because these are also great to make objective markers. Ooh. If you're not super concerned about like having the exact size, the 40 millimeter size, sorry.
And the circle.
Yeah.
If it doesn't matter that it's not a circle.
Yep. If it doesn't matter that it's not a circle, that you're not too concerned about like that exact right size and everything, I'm really into the thematic objective markers. Thematic objective markers also present another set of problems though, which is sometimes they can be too thematic.
Right.
We don't use them. You guys were talking about them last night actually a little bit, I thought. Yeah. You don't use them on the stream because you can't see them.
Right. They hide themselves.
Yeah. So frankly, I would say just, it's nice to have a set of thematic objective markers, but
it's mostly for like narrative events. If you want to run a nice immersive narrative event, thank you.
Tint it up.
Oh, thank you.
So all Bridger's going to do here is the same thing I did. He's literally going to spray, and you're like, it feels a little weird to spray this green color all over these turquoise barrels, which he's done a really nice job of, by the way.
I did?
Yeah, they look great.
You.
But hey, that's what happens when you build.
That's war.
That's war, and that's even more than war. That's nature, right? You just got some barrels, and they're sitting out in the canyon during the desert bloom, and there you go. This is what you end up with. So, lots of things you can do. Yeah, it looks great. Actually, you can be like really aggressive and just sloppy with it, Bridger. And if you leave some areas...
It's turning into like a nice dirty ocean color.
Yep. And if you leave some areas also not...
You know how I could do that? With my finger.
You could do that. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I hadn't thought of that. That's nice. I like it. Totally cool to have variation like that.
My finger's stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks good. That looks great.
All right.
Yeah. Good technique. I never thought about that before. We're going to do so... Yeah, show that. Show the technique. Let's see it.
All right, so I'll put my finger on. And then I'll just spray. And now I am applying force with my finger on wet paint, which does mean I can just pick up the barrel.
Yeah, that's good. Or maybe there'll be like all of these will have your fingerprint on the top of them. That's okay. That's okay.
We're gonna have some intense pooling on this one. All right, and then at the end, we have a nice little finger splash.
It looks pretty nice actually. I'm kind of into it. That's cool.
Keep doing it.
Now, don't do it on every single one the exact same way.
That would be pretty lame.
That would be super lame.
They all look the same.
Yeah, so careful on that. Okay, so the next step Bridger and I are going to be moving on to, I actually need to check my notes behind the camera here. And so the next step Bridger and I are going to be moving on to is maybe kind of the most exciting, fun, wondrous one, full of childlike whimsy and wonder here, Bridger, because we are going to build ourselves cute little, wonderful, adorable, scatter
Oh,
crates.
okay.
Now, when you're done tinting the barrels,
Yep.
I did forget to mention, when you're done tinting the barrels, also tint the scatter
Ooh,
bases that you
will
did
do.
for us. And when you tint those, totally okay on those to leave more spots open and kind of just go some go super deep with, some just mix it up, have fun. Be yourself. Your
get right
fingers
into
are turning very blue.
Blue, green, black, silver.
Yeah.
I have interesting looking fingers now.
Yeah, let's have a look. Can we see the fingers?
Oh yeah, look at these beautiful. I should do hand modeling,
Yeah,
honestly.
Well, maybe not now. Yeah, so with these, get in there real good. There we go. Some spots you can leave open. We're just, again, looking for kind of natural variance. And no mistakes really to be made here, because any mistake you make, God, it'd be so hard to make a mistake. I'm trying to think how you could do it. Yeah, try some different stuff out. Stripes, I love it. We're gonna weather things again even more. So there's not a lot that can go wrong right now. Okay, while he is doing that, I am grabbing from off the side here some pre-made stuff we've done. So we do have a few barrels that have already been completed, because we are doing these actually have also already been weathered. Ooh. Which brings up a point I've been thinking about all week as I prepped for this. You guys, we will go, kind of recap the steps at the end of the stream today. But one thing I want to say is that with the way this is going to end up looking, and lots of the stuff you should, lots of the stuff that you should do to make the train look like this, the order doesn't super matter. Some of it does, lots of it doesn't. So, for example, you're looking for, there it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Lots of it simply doesn't matter. So I like to tint and then weather. That's probably what I would recommend. Weathering should probably be pretty late in the stage. But one thing Bridger and I could do right now if we wanted is we could weather the crates and the barrels separately from the rest of the set, which is actually what I did earlier this week when I prepped a few of these examples. But tonight we're not gonna do that. We're gonna assemble everything and then we're gonna weather stuff. And we'll see if we notice a big difference between the two styles, but I don't think we will. So I've got here for us now. Let's see, what do we need? Okay, weather, non-scatter. Let's see where we're at. Okay, cool. I've got here for us some other little Imperial bits. Bridger, if we could do a little top down here.
Let's take a look.
And you can see I've got all kinds of stuff from all kinds of kits. You probably can't see some of this stuff too well. I'm going to put this in between Bridger and I. But a lot of these like little pipe vents that come from Sector Mc...
Whoa.
Are you like looking across this?
No, this keyboard sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, are we back?
Maybe. Looks like it.
I think we're back.
Hello.
I spent some time logging into the router.
Oh, okay.
And all it took was logging into the router and threatening
That's so
to
weird.
change anything.
All right. Well, hopefully we keep going. And you know what? We had a little bit of time. Things got to dry.
Well, we were. You know what?
Oh, you're about to tell me why you hated a pipe.
Also, people wanted to see this pen.
Oh yeah. So guys, here's the pen, Baoke brand Craftwork pen. I did see a question, super chat from Megan earlier, so I'll answer that one now. And it is Baoke brand Craftwork pen, Baoke. Oh, I should write it down somewhere.
Yeah, write it down.
Maybe not with the Baoke pen though.
Oh, you want me to write it? No, I can't. I have to. You know what I have to do, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
I have to fix the audio delay.
Oh, right.
And you know how I fix that. Bye, chat. But you write that down. And spell it while you're doing that. Out loud. Oh, come on. Okay. I'll leave that. I go unplug and replug the router, which will take like 2 minutes.
Oh, that's not that long.
It is? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Hi, chat.
Well, yeah. Hey, guys.
Is it really working? Yeah. Man, routers take threats very seriously.
Yeah, for a minute. Let's see if it works this time.
Well, let's see if the audio...
Yeah, how's the audio,
How's the
chat?
audio?
Are we lined up?
Oh, yeah, we should. This is a clapping stream now. Did we do it?
It's good. It's good. Snap, fixed. Hooray, they're back. Hey. Okay, well, let's see. Audio's linked. Okay. Maybe not fixed? I don't know. Perfect. Okay, seems good. All right. Well, we'll see.
Pipe. So, the reason I don't like these
Yeah.
is that Necromunda terrain set that I built like 8 of.
Yeah. Yes.
These are everywhere.
Yes.
And you have to choose where to put them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what the most mind-numbing thing is? When you're trying to be creative and you use every possible configuration of things,
Yeah.
and then you run out because you actually have to make too many boxes.
Yeah.
And you have to start reusing, but then you're trying to be creative but like not reuse the same thing too many times.
Right.
That's why I don't like these.
Yeah, so lots of people don't like lots of this stuff, which is why we don't put it on our train. We don't have any here today, but ladders, you know, like I don't recommend putting ladders on terrain if your train's going to be going in and out storage boxes. It will break. They'll break off, right?
For sure.
So that's what we end up with. It's lots of these little cool bits that GW loves to pack in their kits. It's awesome, but unfortunately, it tends to break off. So we've got all kinds of stuff from the Dark Uprising box, all kinds of stuff from the Sector Mechanicus boxes, stuff from old kits, super old ones, the old Cities of Death ruins, I think they called them.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we're just using them as is. There's a couple things I kind of clip and glue together and modify, but pretty much this is what they are that you're seeing right here.
Very cool.
So here's our next step. We should actually do kind of a quick dry brush of the some of this stuff here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hand Bridger this, and the color. Oh, that wasn't intentional.
You didn't let go.
No, the color we're going to dry brush stuff is the same silver that you used earlier, the light one. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit here. Hopefully how's this been coming out? Yeah, there we go.
That's fine.
Yep. Honed steel from Reaper. There you go. I'm going to take a little bit and dry brush style here. Make sure I get it all off my brush for the most part. Not all, of course, but. And then, Bridger, whenever you're ready, we'll do a little top down.
Let's take a look.
And again, it's nothing big, but you can see. Remember, I was talking earlier about painting these rims with the craft pen, and I was saying really probably not necessary because you're going to catch them anyway with this, and you can see the difference there. There's a little bit of a difference because the tint went on before. Frankly, I don't like that. I like my dry brushing stuff to be above the tint, usually. And I typically want my weathering to be above the dry brushing. And my thought process there is that the tint is representing kind of like old stuff that is very grimy and kind of baked into the very existence of the piece that we're dry brushing. And the weathering is kind of like, in this case for the Canyon board, I'm imagining the weather being just like pretty frequently, but also recently blown dust.
Ah.
Yeah. So how are these barrels going?
Well, you know, I got a nice little rim of silver here.
And the big thing when you're doing barrels, is honestly that top rim, right?
Do you think I should get a thicker coat on the top rim?
No, I think that looks good. No, that looks great.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. I'm saying more so than anything, you just don't have to worry quite as much about the bottom, the middle, and the bottom one. It's nice to get them, but by the way, I can tell the difference between the gold Baoke Craftwork pen and the silver but you'd have to look. You wouldn't notice with all the tinting we're doing. You wouldn't notice otherwise. You wouldn't notice if you didn't look or if you didn't know.
Yeah, they just kind of look like old metal.
Yep.
Both ways.
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, you could do a lot of these stages right before we cut out. I was kind of starting to say, you could do a lot of these stages at different times. We could assemble our kit and then dry brush them, but I would really probably then want to wait till the glue dried, so that you're not like applying this dry brushing stress to the recently glued stuff. So I'm just gonna say Bridger and I are gonna do them now. And then we get to the fun part, which is that Bridger and I are gonna build some cute little non-scatter scatter. Ooh, we got kind of a little streak there on that one that looks like brush stroke, but you know what? I'm not too worried about it.
Did we? Did we get a streak?
Yeah, not great, but that's okay because I'm weathering this thing. I'm just gonna make sure a lot of weathering powder ends up on that. If I wasn't weathering, I'd probably use my eraser trick by just getting a wet brush and trying to get that off real quick. But I'm not worried about it at all right now.
Yeah, when I was using the markers, I'll tell you what, I was a little careless. The marker kind of dribbled a bit, so sometimes here we can see, I wonder if this will even show up. There's a little splotch right there of gold that's not on the skull.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, Bridger, Zach will teach you how to fix that later.
Well,
we don't make mistakes here, we make terrain.
yeah, that's true. And actually the marker is fairly easy to get off. If I cared to get that off, which I don't think I do, I would actually probably just use an X-Acto knife and scrape it off real carefully. So you're kind of just scraping the top layer of the marker off, but not the rest of the paint. Okay, and with that, we're ready to build some of these. So, Bridger, you know what? Let's also dry brush a little bit.
The grading?
Yeah, we're gonna dry brush a little bit on the grading. Yeah.
But
now the dry brush on the
silly.
grading. If you want to hand me a couple.
Sure, yeah. Here's
The dry brush on the grading. We might touch these up a little bit after we weather them too. And we are actually gonna weather them before we start assembling. And I'll kind of talk about why. But again, you wouldn't have to. So I'll sort of show you why you don't have to. And the point I wanted to make before we kind of cut out was that, you can go through the paste bin and I listed things by sort of the order I did them. And you can obviously rewatch and do it in the same order I'm doing it as well. But there are a lot of ways you could do it differently and get basically the same result. Very much a project that once you have assembled all your individual pieces, which we now have, you can sort of not worry about it too much. Okay, you ready to work with a little weathering powder?
Let's weather. I'll tell you what, Zach, I've never weathered before.
Yeah, so here's what we're gonna do. I'll demo this a little bit for you. I'll demo on one of each.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, and so the weathering powder I'm using is called Rust Red by Secret Weapon Miniatures. It is the way you would make rust if you wanted to make rust. I'm not going for rust. There's a little bit of a rust look to these because it is a rust weathering powder. But there's a couple other steps you would do if you wanted to do rust. To really bring home rust, you would use like the oxide stuff as well, which I believe Secret Weapon makes.
The effect that I'm getting here when I look at one of these is Mars dust. I just see Mars dust.
That's the goal. So
you nailed it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we have two different brushes here, but it doesn't matter. They're the same for our purposes here today. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna give you this one. I think that one will be a little easier to use. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just apply some of the powder for step one. And when I apply the powder, I'm not really, once again, worried too much about where it's going. I just want to put a couple spots. Wherever you put the powder, we're going to use we're going to use a fixative afterwards. And the fixative is going to turn it into a liquid temporarily. And then the fixative, as it dries, will, fix, if you will, the dust in place.
So it's like a glue or a laminate that's going to cake it on?
Yeah, basically a lot of people say you can use rubbing alcohol to do the same thing. I think that's true. I have found actually, guys, that rubbing alcohol doesn't work quite as well. It comes off a little more than the fixative that I use. So we would start with this right here, and that's kind of the first step. We just do the powder. Now for the second step, actually, Bridger, let me borrow. You know what?
What do you need?
No, let's use the dry brush we just used.
Okay.
I'm going to clean off my dry brush pretty good here, and then for the second step, I'm going to apply fixative. Now, applying fixative is kind of interesting. So it comes the Secret Weapon brand one, which I've used a lot and I love. Looks like this, pigment fixer. If you start dipping your pigment brush into this, you're going to turn all of this red. So you kind of have to ask, we'll go through it pretty quick though, so you sort of have to ask yourself, do I want to spoil this bottle of pigment fixer in case later on I'm doing a different project, and for that project I want to weather a different color, right? So in other words, you're sort of turning the bottle permanently into whatever you use. So if you think you're going to do a second project with a different color, or like I was talking about, if you guys haven't seen, Adrian and I did a video on the Mars board, and we talked about using multiple weathering powders. I used a red and orange and kind of like a cream colored one. If you're doing anything like that, then you either need multiple fixer bottles or you need to just dump it out into something, right? You're gonna find though it actually goes pretty quick. So take any kind of old, ugly brush, and all we're gonna do, and by the way, you and I are gonna ruin the bottle because I think we'll use most of it.
Okay.
And I have a couple other things to do yet on the board.
Does this ruin the brush as well?
It doesn't ruin the brush. Although, to be honest with you guys, I only use brushes. Like, once I use a brush for this, I don't usually use it for anything else. But you could rinse it out. You could do like a really strong job of rinsing it out and get it out. Okay, and all I'm doing now is just kind of dabbing around where I put the powder. You can see it is kind of like a mess, and I can move stuff around a little bit more. On the grating, not quite as much, but you'll see it here in the barrel. Turns into a mess right there. So you can see it kind of floats around a little bit. And then now there is some on the brush, so I can put it in other places, although it's not too much. It's actually kind of a cool look. And remember, we are saying that this is, like Bridger said, a Mars powder. And so it's okay if it like kind of rolls down things and
I think it's really cool.
Pulls up, yeah, like that. And then when it dries, that's it. So it's a pretty easy process. You ready to weather a little?
Oh, I'm ready. I think that's super cool the way that it settles as dust would in the real world. Like the dust blows up on a thing. You got some sand dune action going on.
Yep.
And then it kind of just blows away, but left behind is a layer caked on.
Yeah, cool. It's super easy. I love weathering. You do want to, after you're done weathering anything, even terrain, you definitely want to seal it because you'll notice that like when you touch it, as time goes on, like it'll come off a little bit. And also one of the things that happens is like the bottom of your like container where you're storing your terrain, you'll like see this red powder accumulating.
Just comes off over time.
Just comes off over time a little bit, or just some of it anyway. So just putting a few dabs, don't have to be uniform. Some of them can be heavily weathered. I actually weathered a lot of the samples that I've shown you guys already that I completed. I actually weathered those maybe a little bit more than I wanted to. So for this batch, I'm gonna kind of be a little bit less aggressive. And remember, when you put the dry spot down, wherever you put it, you're going to create like a slurry and it's gonna go all over that area. So like wherever you put a dry spot, it's going to be much bigger than that ultimately. So keep that in mind when you're working with weathering powders.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I have never weathered really a model. I've only weathered terrain. In general, I don't think I would weather a model too much. I've been interested in maybe doing like the feet around people's bases, where their feet connect to the base and stuff like that. I've seen some people do really good jobs with that. For me, I tend to like my models look a little cleaner and brighter than my terrain. So I personally, not sure I would do that, but yeah, I should try it sometime. And if you, the barrel that I did earlier is already done, pretty much. It's already dried.
Wow. And
it doesn't take long for the fixative to evaporate, just like rubbing alcohol, right? So I've done some barrels, I've done some crates. We have these other little silver pieces. I'm actually going to weather them once they're on the thing.
Okay.
That's the process I did at home, and it worked pretty well. So, yeah.
Do you want to start Start assembling?
We are ready to start assembling. Again, we could do things in a few different orders here. We could also now use the fixative and put the fixative on, or we could just, like Bridger says, start assembling, fixative everything all at once. Let's do that.
Sure.
Just to show you guys, you can do it in all kinds of ways. So I'm gonna just start building some, and Bridger, you're pretty much ready too, huh?
Well, I have a couple barrels left to do, but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna trade you a few crates for a few barrels.
Okay. Creighton barrel.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's real dusty.
That's okay, yeah, it'll be good.
Got a nice sloppy one.
Be super careful also, guys. We have these aprons on. Be super careful, because this stuff will
Ruin your clothes?
make a mess of your clothes if you let it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start off. I'm going to do, let's see here. I'm going to do a crate on this guy, like that. I always like to do a little assembly of like kind of just before I do any gluing, right? Kind of just like get the layout. So I'm going to do a crate here. I'm going to do a vent here. And I've got a bunch of these little lights that I cut off from different lamps. I'm going to put a light here. Later on, the last thing we're going to do on this stream today is we are going to glue, well, after we glue here, we are going to do OSL, but it's not really OSL, it's called glow effect. And what that means is we're going to kind of make these look like lights. You can see I've already done that with the samples I have. Let me grab one here that looks pretty good. You can see this one right here. We have the light. I'm doing kind of like a green yellowish. And then we have like the energy core thing here that I did like a glowing blue. And it really adds a lot to it actually. So we're gluing. Bridger, we can pass the glue back and forth. As I grab it again, we can pass it back and forth. I'm going to pass it to you while I assemble my next one. Bop, 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 bop. Nice and easy. There we go.
All right, thank you, sir.
What are you building? Can we see?
Well, I have here. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I saw this barrel has a lot of rust coming down on one side, and it kind of fits in nicely here where there's a pool of dust, and then this crate fills that empty space between the two. I'm definitely overthinking this, but you know what? That's the arrangement I built.
There's nothing wrong with overthinking it, if I'm honest. I'm into it. Yeah, some people will notice that and be into it. Some people will notice how little I overthink it and be like, ew, this guy needs to think a little bit more. So
nah, I think that the amount you think is the correct amount for terrain, and that's how you get so much done, and it still looks amazing, as everybody who watches the channel knows.
Well, thank you. That is part of it. You gotta. You don't want to overdo it. You know. It's just not worth it. Ooh, okay, Bridger. I'm gonna leave one of these for you because they're adorable. But I'm gonna use one of the fire extinguishers. There's another one there for you.
Well, thank you, sir. I used glue in the center of the barrel, which I'm now realizing has minimal contact surface with the grating. Is that going to be a problem?
Oh, instead of around the rim? Yeah, maybe. Let's have that. Let's fix that.
All right. Well, that would
require the glue.
Necessitate some glue. But you know what? You finish, and okay. I'll assemble another cool little...
Yeah, and remember that like the contact is already a little weird on these.
Yeah.
I dropped one of these today, actually, and the only thing that broke off was the fire extinguisher. One of them had a little fire extinguisher on it.
Well, you know, they have they're small, those little fire extinguishers.
They're small. I'm going to push it up against the barrel. So just make sure while you're doing these that you're getting good contact points. Actually, it's a good point, Bridger. So like I said, also, you have to be careful because sort of weirdly, if you have overhang, which I'm about to have here more than I want, if you have overhang, it can get caught on something and peel up. Glue for you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to re-glue. Oh, it might be too late. No,
definitely not too late.
Put some extra glue on there. Get them real glued in. And I'm gonna stack something here. Is that okay? Am I allowed to put one piece on top of another piece?
Especially the crates look good stacked. Is that?
Well, I'm putting a toolbox on a crate.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love the toolbox. The toolbox comes in the it's part of the Sector Mechanicus line, and it's like where the crane is. There's all kinds of stuff.
Oh, everybody loves the crane.
The crane comes with a toolbox, and There was something else too in here. I can't remember what it was now. Oh, the fire extinguisher. That's where the fire extinguisher comes from as well.
Oh, I love these little plasma reactor.
Use them.
It's like a fuel rod
Yeah.
but for the plasma reactors. Very cool. And I'm gonna grab. What do I want on this last one here? We're gonna do this. That's gonna be tough to glue, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I feel like if you have kids, I don't have kids, but I feel like if you have kids and you like, one of my biggest worries, maybe I won't have this worry if and when I have kids, is like, I'm like, oh, they want a hobby with me. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want you ruining my stuff, so I'm not sure yet. Here, you paint this giant thing. You paint this
Styrofoam block.
You paint this styrofoam block while I work with the cool stuff over here. You know, I don't have kids, but I've worked with kids enough to know that they know that isn't gonna.
They know when you're telling them to do something that's not cool.
Exactly. But this could be something a kid could do. You could totally say, all right, here's all the stuff I painted. Let me pass this to you. Let's build these together. And Bridger, by the way, it's not lost on me that I'm basically comparing you to a child right now.
I did pick up on that.
But I hadn't thought about this previously. As I'm doing it, I'm realizing, wow, this would be great for kids. And then I'm also realizing, wow, I picked the wrong time to bring this up because I'm probably making Bridger feel a little bit like a kid right now.
Hey, we all want to feel like kids.
Yeah, it's true.
Can you hand me that glue?
Yes, of course.
Thank you, sir. It is super glue.
Yeah, it's super glue. I wouldn't use plastic glue on anything that has been painted. It makes a big mess.
Yeah. It melts the paint too.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Not done yet.
All you. Yeah, I guess it melts the paint. I think that's the right word for it. Definitely that's the right word for it, but it's not a good melt.
Well, it's not.
It's in no way a melt that you would be able to work with. Like you wouldn't be like,
right.
Oh, I can work with this. It's kind of cool. It looks industrial. It's like, no, it's awful.
It's a runny melt.
It's a bad mess. All right, and like we are nearing.
All right, I don't think that's gonna hold, but I thought it was too cool.
So it will, but it will take a while. You can actually, I have a few like that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Look at that.
There's one, and it
I'm
does
gonna put
hold.
this over here. We're gonna take a closer look.
Here's the other one.
You want? Yeah, let's get both of them on. I love these plasma fuel rods. Whew. Look at them. So stylishly just lounging.
Yeah, it's like someone was working and then some Dark Angels, right? This is going to be near a Fortress of Redemption that actually will, oh, thank you, Brett. We'll actually look at here in a second. Oh, there it goes, spinning. I love it. We're going to actually look at a Fortress of Redemption here in a second that I've been working on for this board, which is a Dark Angels thing. In fact, let's look at it, Bridger. Number 3.
Take a look.
So I've been chatting with you guys about this board and what's going to be part of this board. And this is kind of the centerpiece. This is the much maligned, and we'll talk about why, Fortress of Redemption. And I actually painted this thing a while back for a different board. It's actually the board that the guys are currently using this week.
Yep.
But that board already has a centerpiece, which is like this golden lady in robes sitting on a throne type thing. And this Fortress of Redemption, especially when 8th Ed went to 9th Ed and the board sizes got smaller, it really did not have a place on the board. So I've repurposed it and made it the centerpiece of this board, and it's actually kind of the idea I had to make this board. As I said, I want to have a fortress in a canyon. So here it is, the Fortress of Redemption. A little bit of a wonky piece to play with. Definitely obscuring role though, right, Bridger?
It's a big one, the fortress, and it takes up a lot of space. That's kind of one of the problems with it in terms of playing in 9th, and it also, there's a big height differential between the ground and where you end up on top. So to get up and over it, or on top of it, you don't want people to be able to just be inside of it, like under the ceiling, but getting up on top of it takes like your whole movement. You spend a turn just getting up onto the fortress. It's a tough model.
It's rough, but here's the good thing. This board is going to be ready very soon, and these guys are going to be playing with it. And I'm pretty sure I can convince them to use the Fortress of Redemption in at least one game.
I'm into it. I like big, like it has cool little spiky missiles in it. And I always insist on having the missiles exposed because I like them.
Yep.
And everyone I play with is like, no, you can't, I need to put models there. And I'm like, but the missiles, have you
The
seen
missiles
them?
are cool.
They're very cool.
The missiles are cool. So what we're doing now, Bridger and I, is we're just doing a little bit more weathering on the pieces we just added.
Yeah.
And we are very close to being finished, actually, with our non-scatter scatter. We have a little bit of fixative work to do now, right? Let me fixative it up here. I saw we had a couple super chats. If you want,
we did. Yeah, we can take a look at those.
Yeah.
As you know, the first one was. Oh, it's elsewhere. Hold on, I got it.
Oh boy.
I'm just gonna lean. Nobody look. That didn't work.
What would we look at?
Me bending over.
Oh.
All right, here we go. We restarted the computer several times over the course of this stream. I'll tell you what. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. All right. So as we know, the first one was from Megan. Thanks, Megan. She asks, what brand of the pens? We covered that in great detail, but do you want to cover it again?
They are Baoke brand Craftwork pens, metallic Craftwork. Oh, here. You can do your own fixative.
Oh, thank you.
You can fixative it yourself. There you go. Because I actually do have a little more airbrush work to do, and I'll get that set up. Yeah, Baoke brand Craftwork pens. Thank you for asking, Megan, and thank you for asking a lot of people I saw wondering in chat what it was that we were using, and that's it, and I love them. Super love them.
We also have one from Omniscience Sphinx. Thank you, Omniscience Sphinx. What would be a good base for Black Armor? Space Marine with red pauldron and Ultramarine gray trim.
Let me see this. What would be a good base for a Black Armor Space Marine with red? This is a great question. So, with Black Armor, yeah, so... I actually love the GW technical line, the Citadel technical line, and I really love the Mars one, which is like this crackly red, and I forget what it's called, but if you look up the GW technical line, Omniscience Sphinx, you'll see it. I love red with black. I think it's a good look. Bases are so important, so asking is great because it is really easy to do a base that is kind of boring. I like to make my bases always special. I put a lot of thought into them. I like to make my rim like a color other than black. A lot of people like black rims. I don't like the black rim look. So I usually do some sort of muted color. So I might do, a good look is actually literally, I can tell you the exact color. On the side, it's like the squig orange that Brett and I used. No, actually Adrian and I used a couple weeks back to do the trees. That squig orange around the rim, and then like the red Mars would look super cool with black. Red and black, super striking, especially because you got gray in there too. Red, black, and gray, really cool look. You could do a lot. But I think for me, if someone was like, hey, please paint me a black Space Marine army, and I did commissions, which I don't and probably never would. But if somebody did that, I would, and they said, "How do you want to base them?" That's what jumps to me. Is some kind of red. I don't know. What do you like? What do you like on black Space Marines?
I am not going to talk about black Space Marines. I'm just going to talk about my experience basing with fancy, weird basing stuff. Because I took before Tabletop Titans, I know, long time ago, I took a venture, a journey into the different kinds of basing materials and like scenic muds and water effects that you could do. And it was a lot of work, and it looked kind of cool for like 1 or 2 models, but I was not willing to do it for a whole army. Yeah. And then those 1 or 2 models stand out, and they're kind of like too stand out. So it was like a ghost keel. I put like a ghost keel on a muddy, grassy battlefield with like a river going between his legs. Okay. And it looked kind of cool, I guess, but then every other model in my army looked dumb. I also did a Riptide that was like splashing down into water. So he had like his gun raised up and his shield up, and there was a water effect with like water coming out. And I know you're visualizing something way cooler than I accomplished, but it made the rest of the army look dumb. It didn't tie it together.
It sounds to me a little busy.
Very busy.
So for me, I don't really like to try to tell too many stories with my bases. Right. If I'm making like an army that I'm going to be playing, right? Yeah. Okay, Bridger, can we do a little
Let's do it.
Over the shoulder here? So can we pull up just so I can kind of see?
Of course.
Thanks. Thank you. So, excuse me, guys. What I'm about to do here is a little glow effect here. I've glued a lot of lights to these, as you guys can see. We looked at the glowing blue, but I'm going to show the kind of green-yellow look. And this is kind of like a airbrush technique 102, I would say, level, and also not that challenging, but you want to be a little careful. So I'm making sure I'm always checking my flow, right? You guys can see I'm off to the side here checking my flow, and I'm spraying this here a little bit. I want some of the green to get off on nearby areas, but not too much. This is a tiny little light. I'm kind of hitting it from angles. I'm not hitting it from just top down. If I hit it from just top down, it's going to look a little funky. If some of it gets on that barrel there, I'm kind of trying to have that happen. And finally, here's this one. And for this one, again, just kind of going around and making sure that it looks like it's spilling around. So what do you got, Bridger?
The overspray is desirable, is what you're telling me.
The overspray is desirable, yep. You know, for this one, since it's elevated, I don't really want a lot of the overspray. I'm actually going to be a little more careful. I don't want to hit I don't want to spray like here and get it on the crate. I don't want it that
would be far.
That
Light's
overspray.
not that.
Yep, light doesn't quite do that.
That's all the lights
That's
I
all the
used.
lights you've got? Okay.
I didn't use a ton of lights.
That's okay. So like that, just like that, that's the first color for the green light that we're going to do. And then that's drying. It'll dry pretty quick. While it does, I'm going to empty this out. And I'm going to do a pretty decent re-clean here because my next color and the only other color for this type of light that I'm doing is yellow. And if I don't get the green out, you know, yellow's just going to look green.
It's going to look green.
Yeah.
Phalanx yellow, is that what you're doing here?
Phalanx yellow, yep. It was moot green. Bright colors, folks, for your glow effects. No German winter coats, 1942. It's Stalingrad
Don't
division.
spray army green as a light.
Yep, exactly.
Because lights aren't army green.
Get your bright Citadel colors or Vallejo, one of those companies that makes every company makes super bright colors, but definitely something like that. So, okay, rinsing this out.
Yeah, while you're cleaning,
Yes.
there was another super chat. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
cool.
grab that. Thank you. Magnus did nothing wrong. What up, dudes? I think Bridger should wear the apron on all streams, dripping in swagoo.
What is swag?
Never heard that before. What would you do for squad markers that can be done in one night? Just realized I need them for the weekend. Squad markings is a difficult and contentious topic.
Yeah. What makes you say that?
Well, let's cover the options, right? You have very realistic squad markings, which is using decals or maybe freehanding, literal shoulder pad squad markings or on helmets or something, like tiny little numbers that are the way they would do it if they were those soldiers, right? Soldiers in real life have squad markings, but they're not big. That's the realistic
right.
way to do it.
Right.
You could also...
Which is not good, usually.
I'm not a fan.
Frequently the realistic way of doing it, not the best on the table.
The problem with doing it that way is that it's actually very hard from a distance. You're playing a game Warhammer. Let's say yesterday's game, I had all those bikes clumped up together. First of all, I didn't have any squad markings, which made it kind of difficult. But if I did have little squad markings on the shoulder pads or the helmets or the bikes, nobody would know. I wouldn't know, Adrian wouldn't know. You would have to get real close and look at the model and be like, okay, this guy's in this squad and that guy's in that squad. It doesn't work. Brian loves it, I know, but I don't think it works. Opposite end of the spectrum, you have the really, really unrealistic, kind of ugly way to do it, which is to do something silly. You use rubber bands, you paint the base a different color, you use different models. There's a lot of non-uniformity that you can add to your models to make them look different and stand out, and that's your squad markings. And I don't think that's a great solution either. Those are the two extremes.
Yeah, I know. For Brian shield drones, I know he uses just a little sticker, which I think is good for a shield drone on a clear acrylic base. You wouldn't really want to put that on a marine base. Look kind of goofy.
Look down.
Bridger, can we go
Let's take a look.
close up here? Yeah. So what I'm doing here is putting the yellow on, and again, I'm checking to make sure I've got good flow off on some paper. I put a bunch of green dots down. If this is your first time, use those green dots. Try a little yellow there in the middle, okay? And just see how it's going. So all I'm doing, barely anything really. You can see not much at all. That's it. Okay, you don't want too much. You really don't want it to look like there's like a yellow center. You want such a small amount that it almost looks like it's, well, what it should look like, which is just it's been bled from one color to the other in a gradient. That's what it should look like.
I dig it.
So that's it for the glow effect on the green and yellow. I can knock out here real quick. Just got to clean the airbrush out. This is a little more phalanx yellow than I want to run through my airbrush into the pot, but that's okay. Actually, need to pick some phalanx yellow up. Magnus, that's a good question. So you've got he said by this weekend, right?
It's tough. A one-night fix.
One night.
I think what I have done in the past that was a one-night fix was paint the rim of the base. Because I had, I know you're gonna hate it, but
I'm not into it.
I went to LVO and I brought shield custodies, which was just an army of custodian guard. And the squad markings matters because they're all gonna end up in combat, in the same combat. And I have to be able to tell the identical models apart from squads.
Yeah.
And I went to that tournament relatively unprepared. I changed my list like the week of the tournament from a totally different army to, hey, what if I brought 30 storm shields, could I win games? And then me and Brian worked it out. And so I had to cut off a bunch of arms and glue on storm shields and then within the same week go to the event. And so I just colored the rims of the bases.
So here's what I would say, Magnus. I don't know exactly what unit you're talking about, but there are a number of ways I think you could do it kind of quick and easy. So first, I would just tell you that if you are doing Tau, they paint their armor with like actual paint. So if it's Tau Recruit, which Brett and I both play, it's nice and easy. You just literally, put a streak. That's actually how my tower painted. I take a purple wash and I put a streak down it, and then I take a slightly darker purple and put a streak inside that wash, so it looks kind of like they actually took like their hand and smeared it. And then I take a really thin layer of purple and I go in between that. And it's actually less work than it sounds. And you just go through and you put purple on one squad and green on another squad, whatever. So if you play Tau, Magnus, which I don't think you do, that's what I would do. That said, you could actually do that with a lot of armies on their armor. I would almost lean into it and say, imagine that the squad is marking their armor.
Right.
And how would they do it? And so the look I like here, I'll actually show you super quick, real fast. The look I like to do, let me get a
What do you need?
brush behind me. My microphone wire is not
Do you want a small brush, a big brush?
A little bit of both. Here. This
There you
guy.
go. Oh, neither of those.
Sorry, Bridger. A little bit of both. Just immediately threw everything down he did. So here's what I would do. Okay, let me find a nice clean area here. Let me find it. Here we go, right by pen. Okay, so you take a thicker brush for a squad marking and you do like a streak. And you kind of lean into the fact that maybe they used a brush or something like that. Okay, something like that. On a shoulder pad or something. Just somewhere where you think your army would paint something. And that's going to kind of look like the overhang of the paint. Like the paint, it like leaked a little bit from there, right? So then after that, what I would do is take the next color and kind of live inside of it like this. And so you want to see the wash hanging out a little bit like that.
Is this visible here? I want to get a little closer. It's not. Bummer.
It's not a super great look. And then the final thing I would do, real quick, that would have to dry, but then I would take one more lighter and go again, kind of like in the middle. And so it ends up kind of giving this look of like natural paint a little bit when you do it that way. That's maybe what I would do if you're armored, or even orcs might do that on their skin. Do we know, has Magnus said what army he's playing?
Did not.
We don't know what army Magnus plays?
I think it's Death Guard. Did he? Oh, did he? All right, hold on. We're going to find out. No. But I think it's Death Guard.
Death Guard, yeah. So I would super do that with Death Guard. Could work very easily. If your Death Guard kind of like the classic like green kind of brown stuff, I would do like a purple squad and a red squad. Maybe they're Poxwalkers. Again, Poxwalkers might take a big old. They might just like reach into a vat of paint and just slap it across their chest.
Right.
You could have some fun with it, honestly. I don't know. I did it for my Tau because Tau have this kind of like, well, they work with Kroot, but they also have this kind of like tribal hunting culture that they're from. So I'm imagining that Tau before battle get together and like paint their helmets, right?
Right.
I don't squad mark; they're all the same for mine, but still, that painting look. So it's a wet. To recap, it's like kind of like a medium brush, wet, like a wash. And then let that dry, and then a color that matches the wash inside. The wash is supposed to just look like has faded out a little bit, and then one more kind of slightly brighter color in the middle. And you actually don't even have to do that slightly brighter color. Okay, last thing I was going to knock out real quick.
Tell me, Zach.
Is since you brought it up, Bridger, is the glow effect on the coil on the power the power core thingy. And I like this glow effect, actually. This is one of my favorite ones to do. So for this one, I'm going to use Caldor Sky. This is like a medium blue, medium bright, very vivid, and Lothern blue. Okay, so very quick process here. A little bit of the Caldor Sky. Again, always checking, almost always whenever I airbrush, I'm checking off to the side to see how things are looking. Okay, again, first hitting this up. This one doesn't matter so much. I don't want the coil light going back on the case too much, really at all, because this light is going forward, although there's also coil on the back. I'm actually not going to paint the coil on the back. No one's really ever going to see it. So we do that. And if you just left it like that, honestly, it still looks okay. Glam cam?
Let's do it.
No glam cam. It still kind of looks okay. It looks like it's not super compelling, but it's got like a little bit of a glow there, you can see. Just because of the way an airbrush works, which is an airbrush paints gradients, and light is kind of a gradient, right? So, I mean, not really, but
We're getting pretty scientific here.
we're getting a little, yeah, we're getting a little too scientific. So you can see like that actually right even there is like, oh,
pretty
okay,
good.
yeah. But it's really going to come to life. Oh man, do you have a clean water, Bridger?
Mostly, yeah. In fact, there's a clean water between us.
Oh yeah, let's use that one.
Would you like this water?
Yes, please. Thank you.
And here's the delightful little scenery.
Yeah, so it's this guy's really going to come to life when we put a little bit of blue. Now for this, I like for the power core, I do kind of think about where I put the blue, and I try to put it down, like aim down a little bit on it, and kind of go down the center of this thing. Hopefully I can do that. Get a little tiny guy here.
So you're really just trying to get like a circle inside the circle. A little dot, a dab. Kind of like you did with the lights.
Yep. There you go. Hold on. We can do a little more.
Needs a little more?
Needs a little more. There we go.
Really getting in there.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
it kind of just looks like a streak that goes down. And that's it. So, glow effect is kind of fun. It was definitely like a couple months after I got going on painting before I did it. But after I did it, it pretty much influenced the selection of my armies. I was like, oh my god, I'm only going to do armies ever that have glow effect. No orcs, no Tyranids.
I mean, you're so good at doing glow effects. I remember when you taught me to airbrush, because I was a young little lad. You taught me on Custodes. I had just bought my first Custodes army. Taught me how to do the armor with gradients and dry brushing. And then the power weapons, and I was really impressed. And it was such an easy process.
It is easy.
But you knocked my socks off with power weapons.
Glow effect is super easy. It goes a long way. It's like for me, a lot of people hate it though, I should say. Like sometimes, every now and then I'll do a glow effect and like someone will, I'll hear someone be like, oh man, I don't like glow effect or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm not offended. I get it. And for me, my favorite thing to do is to overuse glow effect. Like however much glow effect you think should be on an army, you'll see it tomorrow in my Sim Han.
Double it.
I'm like, maybe not double it, but like 10% more, 10 to 20% more. I'm super into using more glow effect than you think there should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people aren't into that, but I don't know. It's kind of
I dig it. I love glow effect.
kind of my thing. Cool. Hey, I think I think we pretty much did it.
I think we did a great
but
job.
we always put our finished products. We put one on the glam cam. Can we put a couple others here on the glam cam?
Yeah, let's pile them up.
I'm gonna pass them to you.
All right.
Glam cam it
We're
up.
gonna build a nice little, maybe not crowd it, but
And can we get a spin on the glam cam? Oh, it is spinning. Nice.
yeah, let's get some spinning. Look at these.
There we go.
Very cool.
That's it. Now, a couple things I would say about rust. One of the things I kind of mentioned is this is the red you would use for rust. I actually would also use an orange to go with it a little bit for rust.
Yeah.
But and there's also this like the oxide stuff. GW makes it that like turquoise kind of color, where like moisture is added to rust. But one of the things that you want to do with rust actually that's different than like the look here I'm going for is Martian dust, canyon dust. If you're doing rust, you would actually want to dry brush after you fixed the powder, so that like edges would still look like metal edges.
Right.
Whereas I don't want to do that because I'm really imagining like, yeah, to some extent the dust isn't going to settle on edges as well. But I kind of like the look of like, well, it settled and then it rained and then it's a big mess. So
Yeah.
rust behaves a little bit differently in that way. Bridger,
Yes.
thank you for joining me today.
Well, we do still have a few more questions.
Fun. Okay, let's do it.
Didn't want to leave them wanting. You know.
Yes, please.
They deserve answers, Zach. Thank
Okay,
you.
totally.
Thank you, Zero Crow. I've been painting up my Dark Eldar, but none of them are based yet because I can't decide. Don't want to do snow, mud, or sand. Want a little unique, but can't decide. Help.
Good question, Zero Crow. First of all, it sounds like we're gonna have to do a basing episode at some point, and I think Brett would be super into that. So that's a great question. I would want to know the color of your Drukhari. Personally, I always kind of put those two together. So like with reds and purples, I wouldn't do sand, but I might do like a tan, some kind of tan scheme. So again, I love the GW technical ones. They have a tan one that I actually use for my Simhan, and I forget what it's called, but it's not mud. I don't like mud either. You were mentioning mud on yours.
Not a huge fan.
The Delvin mud stuff. It always makes everything look so busy, and it's just such a mess.
Yeah.
So for Drukhari, I don't know. I like the idea of either kind of like a tan, maybe ruins. That's sort of what I did with my Simhan. Or gray urban type stuff. Grays, charcoals, yeah, kind of just depends on the color. But urban is always cool, and urban's fun. What you can do for urban is, well, urban or runes, any kind of runes, like even if they're like stone runes from like an ancient culture or something. One of the things I like is the Green Stuff World has these rollers that people use, and I've used them before too, and they're really great. And they have like a pattern on them.
Yes.
Yeah. So I use that on my Simhan. I bought the one that's supposed to be like Eldar, and it's got like little Eldar symbols on it. Teal, magentas.
Desaturated green.
Teals, magenta. So I would probably say gray. Gray would look good with teal and magenta.
Now I have a crazy idea.
Tan could as well. Yeah.
And I think I know what you're going to say, but I want you to hear it.
Yeah.
I want you to hear this crazy idea. I think it would be cool. It's a lot of work, but I think it would be cool to make a Drukhari army where it's based and they're all like hanging off of boats or like standing on the deck of the boat.
So let's talk about the deck of the boat. The deck of the boat's compelling, and there are Zero Crow. There are like a lot of companies out there, as you probably know, that sell like bespoke bases with patterns on them already. This is one area where weirdly Citadel Games Workshop is the best bang for your buck. Like if you go, like I love Secret Weapon Miniatures. I use their powders. Yeah. Their bases are super awesome. A lot of companies make. Someone starts with a K. Cromlech makes some. A bunch of companies make bespoke bases. Brian and I were actually talking about this before he left. We kind of joke. Brian, like when he gets a project he wants to do, he's like, I'm doing this project. He kind of makes sure he's got the money aside. But he's like, I'm going for this project, right? And it was the only time I've heard Brian be like, I realized it like doubled the cost of my army to just buy all these bespoke bases. And it is, when you sink $800 into an army, you're like, okay, here's my new army. bought all the paint, and they're like, okay, now let me buy these bases, and it's another like $500.
Well,
It's
he
like,
went crazy.
that was what was that for?
That was for Ultramarines,
yeah.
and he should have talked to me because I had a code. Because I've run events,
for
and I've
bases?
I've run events, and it's been sponsored by Secret Weapon before, but he paid a lot.
Yeah.
For
They're expensive.
a lot of bases.
I mean, I feel like that's like the army he's put the most love into himself. He's put
I
a
think
lot of
so.
love into
Other
that
than
army.
Tau, I think he
Yeah, he's
has
put,
poured his soul into Tau.
he's put a lot of love into both those armies, but the bases can be expensive. Citadel ones are actually really good, and they make one that I think is kind of looks like it's like a metal grating type look,
Well,
not like we did.
I was thinking about that. Like, if you cut circles out of this
Yeah.
grading material, I think you'd make some cool bases.
Yeah, you could absolutely. Yeah, I think you would need to do like kind of like we did here today, add a little bit more to them. But yeah, you could make cool bases like this. Yeah, Zero Crow, it's tough. Like, you could go so many directions with it. It's good that you know what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
My next recommendation, personally, would be pick a color, and then say what makes sense for that color.
Right.
Like if you want gray, probably urban, or like an ash world, or maybe like the deck, like you're saying, of a raider. If you want tan, yeah, desert without sand, more like crack salt flats or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of cool ideas.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you, Orczak. Good wah, Titans. I'm attending my first tournament this month, and I need a display board for my army. Any tips on where to get started for this? That's a big undertaking.
That is a big undertaking. Somebody messaged me earlier today about this as well. First, I'll say my best recommendation, Orczak, would be start by getting some inspiration. I've never done a display board. Conceptually, they're similar to terrain. Check online. I do know, I give a lot of the same recommendations over and over again, but I do know Colin Ward of Legalized Mischief. Mischief has done at least one that was amazing. I think he's done more than one. I always mention, I feel like I mention Seth every week, but Hobby Sensei on Instagram, he does dioramas. That's like his thing. So start there. Other than that, as far as the process of making one, there's a few ways to do it. A lot of people will like build out with wood and then pour like a mixture in there. Keep in mind, you don't have to make it that hard for yourself. One thing you could do, I don't know, a lot of really big diorama builders would probably strangle me if they heard me say this, but go to one of the companies that makes mats and buy one of their smaller mats. And you can even start by cutting that to the size you want.
Zach, oh no.
And I mean, the thing is that your foundation then is going to be nice and easy, and it's going to look good when you then add other stuff to it, right? The danger of doing like pouring not the concrete, but pouring like the plaster and dry, it frequently gives a very busy look. You want remember, when you make a display board, I think people really go all in on their display boards.
They do.
But remember, you're displaying your army.
Models.
You're displaying your army, so it should be darker than your army. And frankly, we've talked about this before in the stream. Like if you're really putting a lot of little plants everywhere, you're dry brushing different shades of mud and rock and stuff, you're going to have a very busy looking board. It's going to visually distract from the model. So
what do you think about pink foam as a base? So wood and plaster is a lot of work, but if you started with pink foam as a base and you painted it, could that be a good display board?
you'd have to texture it, which you could do. You could do that a number of ways, even with the wire cutter, just skimming off the top. Yeah, you could do something interesting with that. Then maybe sink it into a board or something like that. As far as like that actual process of like building out the physical like board, that's a Brett thing. We need to make Brett do that one time. That's such a Brett thing.
The chat is giving us so many great show ideas.
Yeah, I know, right? Like Brett mostly built this table, as a matter of fact. Like
he did.
That's like such a Brett thing to do. So I would say, one, if you have a local Brett, ask him. But if you don't have a local Brett, find somewhere on YouTube where they actually show you how to build that. I don't know how to do that.
Just to clarify, for those who might not know Brett super well, what is a local Brett? Like, describe Brett. What are his interests? What is he good at? Why are you saying find a Brett?
Brett's like, if Brett can build something rather than buy it, that's what he'll do.
He's a maker. He makes stuff.
Yeah, but very like basic ingredients, like
from the ground up.
From the ground up, like he wants to take something from, and he likes to build practical things. I like to make and build pretty things, right? And not necessarily from like I don't want to mold my own plastic,
right?
Right. So yeah, I would say like find your local Brett. And it's something that we should make our local Brett do probably one time, maybe for a video or something, like how to, because this question's come up all the time, actually, display board.
It's tough. It's honestly a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
It's a diorama, which are often this size, but you're making a diorama this size, and also the focus, the star of the diorama is an army that slides around and can go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do.
I've never gotten the appeal, I'll be honest with you guys, but it's so cool. They look great when they're well done. I don't know. I probably will never make one for myself, but I do believe we should do a video where we make one. Totally.
Yeah, we should. All right, thank you, So Tall. Hey, Titans, any ideas on 8mm Titanicus scatter terrain?
Yeah, there are some things. This is a great question. First, I would say 3D printing is going to be friendly to you because you can scale things up and down. So if you have access to your own ability to 3D print, or a friend, or any avenue, even I'll be honest with you, like on Etsy, there's this guy who printed that statue that you guys are using, the lady sitting down. That was designed by this guy named, I think, Dragonforge, and his name is Spiros, and he's a super cool guy. He lives in Michigan. I always chat with him. He originally built that thing for like a little statue for D&D.
Yeah.
Like you go in and you see it. And I asked him, I was like, how big could you make that? And he said, I could make it really big.
Right.
And he said, what do you want it, like 6 inches tall? And I was like, can you make it 8 inches tall? And he's like, yeah. I was like, can you make it 10 inches tall? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, wait, is it gonna look worse? He's like, no, it'll look the same. I was like, okay, can you make it a foot tall? Like I kept asking. And he did it. So 3D printing's big because they can take anything and scale it for you.
Only to the size of their printer.
To the size of their printer, yeah. There are limits, but the good news is with this, you're mostly scaling down.
Right.
So that said, there are some things that are going to look good at any size, and this thing that Bridger was talking about how he hates.
The pipe?
Yeah, this is pretty much good to go for Titanicus.
Yeah.
I guess someone could look and see the little divots and be like, wow, those must be giant divots. But there are giant divots.
Right.
Like
there's Titans wandering around shooting mega bolter rounds.
Yeah. This would be smaller than that. Look at that. That would be smaller than the bolts, the what they're shooting. So some stuff is kind of good to go. Like these two, these are from the, these are actually from the, can we do?
Yeah, I hate that kit. That kit drives me crazy.
This is the much maligned Necromunda kit, Dark Uprising kit. You know, this one's got the switch on it, which maybe not amazing, but like this one right here, no switch on that, just cables and wires, stuff like that. Pretty much good to go for Titanicus or any kind of large scale thing. So there are some things where you want to take a look at them and you want to say, is there something where people know what that is, like the switch or a barrel, right? If a barrel is like still large, people are going to go, yeah, I believe these pipes are just really large pipes, but I see that little switch, and it looks like a servitor is supposed to be able to go like this, so how do they turn this switch on, right? I'd say 3D printing, and I'd say go through your bits. Like you're going to find a lot of bits where you're going to go, oh, that could work at that scale, right? Yeah.
All right, this might be the last one of the night. Thank you, Jacob. Just dropped 2487 into Deathcore of Krieg Forge World. GW, now to find a commission painter. The cavalry is so cool.
Deathcore is super cool. I was actually looking the other day at the Studio Army, which they played. You guys played
very recently
last week, I think actually. And I saw the cavalry, and I was like, oh man,
they're so cool.
They're not good though, huh? In game currently.
That's not true. They are good, but you need a lot of them.
Okay. You guys had maybe, what, like 12, 10, 12? I saw a few. Maybe
you
less.
need like 27. If you want to play them, you need like a max.
Yeah. Jacob, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, if you haven't painted them before, painting horses is something anyone who wants to be like, I'm a guy who can hobby. Hey, I'm a good painter. You got to paint a horse. Got to work on painting horses. Not necessarily. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not into like, oh, you got to do the traditional thing and you know, get your, what do they say? Like, get your teeth into this old historicals thing and stuff like that. But it's not just that. It's not just that everyone who's been painting since the 80s and before that. I mean, geez, people have been painting miniature horses since the early 1900s, right? Like, it's not just
older than that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You're right. It's not just that. It's just that painting a horse is a great exercise in like blending, and you can't just paint a horse the way you paint like a beast man.
Right.
You can't just dry brush that fur.
Yeah,
That's not how horse fur is. So look at pictures of horses. You're probably also painting horses. You didn't ask this, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, good luck painting those horses. But painting horses is awesome. It's super cool. I painted horses on that old Games Workshop game, Battle Masters, which is from the early 1900s, if anyone knows Battle Masters. My wife bought a box, and we painted up the horses, and we painted up everything, actually. And painting the horses was really cool. Super rewarding, yeah.
All right. Well, another one snuck in. Thank you. Aaron Bridger looks like Gargamel after an all-you-can-eat Smurf buffet. Just kidding. We love you. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Aaron.
Oh, because of your hands.
Very possibly, yeah.
Yeah, like you were eating the Smurfs.
Yeah, I
That's
got
gruesome. That's
paint everywhere.
It's gruesome, Aaron.
It is a bit gruesome, yeah.
That's super gruesome. Just like scarfing down living Smurfs. Awesome. With that, I think we did it.
I think we did it.
So let's chat a little bit about what's coming up in the next week. You know a lot of that, but yeah, why don't you do it?
Yeah, okay. So tomorrow, Thursday,
Yeah.
our normal Thursday night game, we have a very exciting match. I will be playing Zach's Simon. I'm super excited to be playing Craft Worlds.
I'm so excited to watch you play my Craft Worlds. I've had some luck with them, but I want to see. some. This is great. I taught you a thing or two today. You're going to teach me a thing or two tomorrow.
I
It's
thought
perfect.
it was really funny when we were going through your models and I was like building an army list.
Yeah.
You disagreed with almost every decision I made, and I was pretty strong in my convictions. I knew what I was doing with that Craft World. I know how to make a Craft World army or two.
Yeah, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, well, I mean, Bridger plays competitively. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really play competitively.
It's different metas.
Yeah.
It's different metas.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know why I'm arguing with you. Yeah.
And that game will be against Speed Freaks Orcs. Everybody loves to see. We're gonna have a race.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big
And I have
race.
jet bikes, so I think I win.
You have
I
jet
win the
bikes.
race part of it. I might not win the battle.
But
I win
you
the
would
race
win
part.
the race for sure. They would be impressed. And you're painted red. They would be like into it.
Yeah. And then Saturday, you know we have Saturday.
I think.
The legendary return.
Oh right. I didn't know that we were full blown announcing that.
Well, I feel like we can reward viewers of the hobby stream.
Okay.
Brian's coming back, and he'll be here Saturday, so be there. I actually don't know. Do you know the armies we're playing? I know what Adrian's playing, because it's the Sisters release day, so Adrian
Yeah.
will be playing Sisters. I don't think Brian has selected an army yet.
Brian, yeah, who knows?
He's going to ride in on a white horse,
He might play every army.
and he'll say,
He hasn't
today,
played 40K for so long. He might play every army.
he'll say, today we're not playing Battle-Forged armies. I'm just putting the models I want on the table.
Yeah. There's going to be a Riptide, and there's going to be a bunch of, Ultramarine Dreads. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Riptide's actually going to be riding on a Land Raider.
Yeah, it's going to
And
be.
it's going to be great. So be there Saturday. It's going to be awesome.
I'm hoping he's like uncomfortably tanned when he shows up, but I don't think he will be. But I want to see Brian being like very tan.
He definitely will be.
Very tan. You think so?
I think it's almost a guarantee.
I super want to see like just a extreme like everyone just right away is like very confused at how tan Brian is.
Well, with that, I
Yeah.
think that's the end.
I think that's it. Before we put Brian up to more like what else will Brian look like when he shows up, guys, thank you so much once again for joining us. Reminding you, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and always be creating. Thank you.